Hey guys, you may have seen our recent video on Season 9 of Classic Doctor Who not launching in Australia, and at the time of making this video, still no plans for that apparently. Now, that video got quite a lot of exposure. It's 6,000 hits and counting at the time of making this video, and as a result of that, there are a lot of comments on the video as well. Some really good discourse on the whole from Doctor Who fans. I've had to delete a few comments here and there, some crazies out there, but on the whole, it's been really good. And one of the broader topics that's come up is the nature of physical media and how it's good to have physical media so that if a TV network or a streamer suddenly decides they want to edit something, censor something, or maybe just not show something ever again, you at home still have the original, just as the maker intended, and you can always go back to that, and that's a cool thing. And with one of these side street topics being censorship, people have brought up the Australian Blu-ray release of Season 2 of Classic Doctor Who, which has a story called The Chase, which was edited, some call it censorship, but really it's just edited for copyright rights reasons, that sort of thing, here in Australia. And it's interesting that a lot of people commented that they didn't actually know this. And so for you guys, I'm not going to play the actual clip because that will incur its own copyright rights issues and so on, but I will show you some stills from it. Basically, in The Chase, the TARDIS crew has a device called the time-space visualizer where they can dial in a time and place in time and space and watch historical events happening like they're watching television. And after watching a couple of events back in Earth's history, including one involving Shakespeare, which is quite funny, Vicky says she wants to see 1965, and she dials in the Beatles appearing on top of the Pops. And this is a really cool scene. We get to see the Beatles performing Ticket to Ride. We pull back and we see Ian dancing crazy. We see the Doctor standing behind the time-space visualizer. You can see him up there on the left-hand side of screen. He's dancing as well. And Ian and Barbara, who are contemporary to the 60s, of course Vicky isn't, she's from the far future, can't believe that Vicky knows of the Beatles, and she says, of course I know of the Beatles, I've been to their memorial theatre, which must have seemed quite funny at the time, because although the Beatles were big, in the mid-60s I don't think people realised how monumental they would be decades and decades and decades later. So the thought of someone from the far future going to a Beatles memorial theatre in Liverpool must have seemed quite funny. Of course, to us in 2023, it seems quite sad, given that two of the Beatles have passed on. But I digress. That's the scene. That's what... Well, I can't say it's what people don't want you to see in Australia. That would be over-egging the pudding quite a bit. But it is certainly a scene that you won't see in Australia if you just buy the Season 2 classic Blu-ray set. And that's quite a shame, because it is an integral part of the show. And if you watch it on the Australian Blu-ray, Vicky says she wants to see 1965, and the time-space visualizer just fills with static, and the Doctor says, oh look, we've got to get on with things, and it sort of cuts to the next scene. So you miss the Beatles, you miss Ian dancing crazy, you miss all that good stuff, and that's quite a shame. So that's what it is. And just as an interesting side note, just like a lot of Doctor Who episodes were junked from the 1960s, a lot of Top of the Pops episodes were junked too. And the episode with the Beatles performing Ticket to Ride, which I believe was their only Top of the Pops appearance, was junked. So when Beatles fans realised that this episode of Doctor Who had clips of the Beatles that didn't exist anywhere else, they were very excited. Similar, I guess, to how bits of Doctor Who ended up on shows like Blue Peter. The episodes of Doctor Who would be junked, and then Doctor Who fans would be very excited and go back to Blue Peter episodes to get clips from. All of this stuff is connected, it really is. Anyway, I've probably laboured the point enough. For those of you who haven't seen the clip in full, do seek out the Doctor Who Classic Season 2 Blu-rays from the UK. You will see it on the UK versions, or even just the DVD of The Chase from the UK. You'll see it on there too. I used to own it. I know it's on there. Anyway, this has been Rob. I'll see you next time on the Doctor Who show. Bye for now.